Hello friends, and welcome to today's video, which is going to be the latest of my history of. I know I do these very sparingly, I am aware, but I think I've done 7 or 8 in the past year since I started. I think I'm doing a good job. Anyway, the point is, this is like a quasi-series on my channel where I basically take a group for some whatever arbitrary reason and we just dive into their history and I just run through all of it. And today's group is another group that I have a very complicated relationship with, as well as being the first girl group I've ever done, which is I-DLE. Note before we even continue into anything else, yes, I call them I-DLE. It's more fun. No, I will not be stopping. Yes, I am aware it is not pronounced I-DLE. No, I do not care, because it's more fun to say I-DLE, and it's frankly not that deep. Also, be aware, just like when I do any of these, I'm not doing every single group or solo activity, because frankly, I don't care. I can't be bothered. Like, if you want a full breakdown of every single activity I-DLE's ever done, this is not the video for you. I will, however, be doing the big things, like the comebacks and the tours and the important things, and I will be discussing them. For context, okay, because I feel like we need the context before we continue, I was a huge I-DLE stan in 2018, 2019, 2020, like that 3-year period probably. I was just so here for I-DLE. However, I stand girl groups differently than I stand boy groups. We can talk about it. The bestie calls it misogyny, but I've always just been more emotionally invested in the boy groups I stand, which means that I can't tell you the deep lore. I can't forget it. If you want me to run through the strangest astro lore, I can do that in a heartbeat. The weirdest dream lore, like NCT Dream, absolutely. I-DLE, I don't get the deepest lore. I can't dive in and off the top of my head tell you the weird facts about all the members in the way that I can with other groups. Additionally, in spite of the fact that they were at one point in time my favorite girl group, I've never read a word of I-DLE fic in my entire life, and that's a lot because I read a lot of fic. That's saying something. I read a lot. So, I've never read a word of I-DLE fic. So just all around, this video is going to be a little different than normal. Also, while we're here, shoutouts to the bestie. The bestie does read I-DLE fic, or at least has to my knowledge. So she was actually very helpful just in general with this entire video, and just emotionally. Bestie, you're a queen, we stand, and as a reward or a show of appreciation for your helping me, I promise not to kick you off the album music, at least for the time being. While we're doing shoutouts, I must of course mention that my entire History of series is inspired by Miss Smoky Glow and her Evolution of series. I will link both her channel and her Evolution of playlist in the description because we must give credit where credit is due. And these videos were inspired by them. I would highly recommend her video if you're into it. She takes YouTubers and makeup companies and goes through their history in a similar-ish way to what I do with these K-pop groups. I have simply taken her concept and applied it to K-pop groups. Last thing before we can really and truly begin, I just want to make it abundantly clear that at various points in this video, I will be giving opinions on things. I will be giving my opinions on songs. I'll be giving my opinions on whether or not I think a release flopped. I will be giving opinions. All around, they're just opinions. You can disagree with every single opinion that I say. I love that for you. I love that for me. I love that for us. Alrighty, now that all of this is out of the way, we can actually get started, and of course we must begin, as always, by meeting the members. Hello friends, and welcome to the members section. Now, here's the thing, okay? Normally when I do this part, I have a giant poster that just has all the members on it. The thing is, I don't own a I-DLE poster, and unlike when I did my History of iKON, I'm not buying anything for this video because I already have most of I-DLE's albums. I don't have their latest two, but that's it. And I don't really feel like buying them, and that means I'm definitely not gonna get a poster, so here's the deal, okay? These came with the Dum Dee Dum Dee album. They're what we're gonna use for this section. Let's just jump into it, and as always, we're gonna go in age order, which means we're starting with Cheon, who was born on January 31st, 1997, and is I-DLE's main vocal and visual. In terms of her pre-debut lore, Mion's is actually quite well known. She was a YG trainee for several years. I think she was a trainee for around 5 years or so. She was actually meant to debut in Blackpink, however, she did end up leaving YG in 2015. As for Mion's fun fact, she can play both the violin and the piano. She is a member of that special League of Legends group KDA, which we will get to. And she loves nail art, which I support because I watched the entirety of Claws in the span of 4 days. And had a nail art moment, so we stand. Also, Mion dated Jinhyung of Mix and Match fame, which is totally irrelevant. I know they were just both at YG at the same time, but the reason I'm mentioning it is because When I watched Mix and Match, I thought Jin Hyung was super hot, so I respect her for it. On to the next 97 liner, Miss Minnie. Now, Minnie was born on October 23rd, 1997 in Bangkok, Thailand, and does have a Thai name, which is this, which I can't pronounce, so I call her Minnie. My inability to speak Thai aside, Minnie is currently Giddle's main vocalist. On to the pre-debut lore. Minnie was introduced as a Cube trainee back in 2016. She would do some works for a cosmetics company in 2017, and would appear on Pentagon Maker, which is the show that made Pentagon and has the most creative name of all time. Fun fact time. Minnie was a Troye Sivan stan in his YouTuber days, which is dedication, and frankly, I respect it. She also, as of the time of me filming this, has the most Instagram followers of all the Giddle members, with over 5 million, and, like many other Thai idols, speaks a bajillion languages. She is apparently fluent in 5 of them, which is insane to me because I barely speak English. Also, I don't mean to be mean, but I was watching this video forever ago, which was like K-pop idols as vines, and for Minnie's, they put the welcome to my kitchen vine, and I laughed for 3 straight days. Like, it still will make me chuckle if I think about it enough, so I wanted to mention that. Next up, we have the current only former member of Giddle as of right now, which is Miss Soojin. So Soojin was born on March 9th, 1998, and during her time with Giddle served as the group's main dancer, sub-vocal, and sub-rapper. Now, in 2021, Soojin would be one of many idols who got exposed in that massive bullying scandal, and while I won't say she handled it the worst, I will say she handled it poorly. Cube ended up backing her. She denies it to this day. It definitely didn't help that one of her accused victims was a relatively well-known actress, so like just all around it wasn't great. All you need to know is that she left Giddle pretty much immediately. She went on hiatus. She officially left in August and then left Cube in March of 2022. As for her pre-Giddle lore, Soojin would debut under DN Entertainment in the group VV Diva, a group I'd never heard of, so I did Google them. They existed for around 6 months and then just went completely silent. Aside from that, she would also feature in some Soyeon music videos, but we'll get to those. As for Soojin's fun facts, she has at least 8 tattoos, my personal favorite being either the cloud on her finger or the heart on her shoulder. She also used to date Hui from Pentagon, which is poor taste. Poor taste, unlike Miyeon, because I am now a Hui anti because of Boys Planet. Boys Planet has ruined that man for me. It has ruined much of Pentagon's discography for me. Hui has ruined all of human society, so she loses points for dating Hui. Anyway, next up we have the one and only Jeon Soyeon. Soyeon was born on August 26th, 1998, and is the group's leader, main rapper, sub-vocal, and center. Soyeon also has by far the most well-known pre-debut lore, which deserves its own little section, so try and keep up. The general public was first introduced to Soyeon when she appeared on the brand new show, Produce 101, where she would at one point rank as high as 10th before finishing out the show in 20th place. She would then appear on the 3rd and final season of Unpretty Rap Star in July of 2016, where she would finish that show as the runner-up. Then, using the fame she gained from Produce 101 and Unpretty Rap Star, Soyeon would make her solo debut, releasing 2 digital singles, Jelly in 2017 and Idol Song in early 2018. Then, after all that, she would finally get announced as a member of Giddle. I told you it's a lot and deserved its own section. I was not exaggerating. Soyeon fun fact time. She is a Big Bang stan, a member of KDA along with Miyeon, and is a One Piece stan. Last Soyeon thing, I promise, but she is a prolific songwriter. She currently has over 70 songwriting credits to her name, with that number obviously about to go up when Giddle releases their new album. She is also the most songwriting credits for any 4th generation female idol, and has written songs not just for Giddle, but for artists like JBJ and A-Pink Namju. So like, artists fully unrelated to Cube. We have officially reached the members who are younger than me, first of which is Yuchi. Now I want to give you a brief warning, just in case. I switched between calling her Yuchi and Oogie. I'm gonna try and keep it Yuchi, but if I call her Oogie, just go with it. So, Yuchi was born on September 23rd, 1999 in Beijing, and currently serves as Giddle's lead dancer, sub-rapper, sub-vocal, as well as being the face of the group. I have essentially no pre-debut lore for Yuchi, which is weird because she was one of the first members to join Cube, so we're just gonna jump ahead to her fun facts. Right off the bat, Yuchi is a Super Junior stan. She also was the first Giddle member to release a solo album, and is friends with Yana from IZ*ONE, who has one of the, I would say, the best post IZ*ONE discography of the no, that's a lie, MB. and B does, I lied. But Yena's discography is good too. Last but not least, we have the youngest member and fellow Capricorn bestie, Miss Shuhua. Shuhua was born on January 6th, 2000 in Taiwan and is the group's sub-vocal, visual, and maknae. Shuhua's another member that just has no pre-debut lore worth mentioning. She appeared in a singular music video, but that's the only important thing I could find. As for her fun facts, Shuhua hates strawberries, which is insane to me because they're delicious. I don't get it. I don't get how you can hate strawberries. She also is a Hyuna stan, with Hyuna being the reason she auditioned for Cube Entertainment. Alrighty, that's it. That's all I got for the members. We have finished the members section. We can now get back to the main video. Okay, welcome back. I hope that was a very informative experience for you. I hope you learned a lot because we love learning in this house. But now that we know the members, we can actually get started with the timeline. So, in April of 2018, Cube would announce that they were debuting their first girl group since CLC, who had debuted around 3 years prior, with the world at large really getting their first good glimpse of this upcoming girl group with a busking video that for some reason that I've never understood was posted to the Dingo Music YouTube channel. This video was just around 2 minutes long and saw Gidle performing Mic Drop by BTS, Hello Bitches by CLC, and Crazy by 4 Minute, and it went viral. It very quickly broke 1 million views. It currently sits at over 5 million views with over 130,000 likes, and most importantly and relevantly to this timeline, it built tremendous levels of hype for this upcoming girl group. Speaking of their debut, Gidle would debut with the release of their debut mini album, I Am, sitting right here, along with its lead single, La Ta Ta, which came out on May 2nd and was immediately met with just endless widespread success. Starting with the album, I Am would peak at number 6 on the charts and sell around 50,000 copies, which I will not deny, by today's standards, and especially by today's standards for Gidle, that's a bit floppish behavior. However, we need to acknowledge the massive spike in album sales that have occurred since 2018, especially for girl groups, because in 2018, most girl group albums, and especially most girl group debuts, were not selling that many albums. Like 50,000 copies for your debut album as a girl group was very good. However, the album is nothing compared to its lead single, La Ta Ta. This song, if you ask me, was, up until 2022, the most successful song Gidle had ever released. It peaked at number 12 on the charts and spent nearly 5 months charting, as well as becoming the group's first music video to break 100 million views, with its current total sitting at around 175 million. As for the song itself, like, from a musical sense, I want to stress I mean this in the nicest way possible. La Ta Ta is essentially a Blackpink song, but good. Like, it is what you would take if you took banger pop and circa 2018 Blackpink music and just fused them together. And society, as well as me, was so here for it. Additionally, with this release, Gidle would join the list of groups who've won on a music show with their debut, as La Ta Ta went on to get a grand total of 3 music show wins. Also in promotion of their debut, Gidle would launch their I-Talk series, which they've been doing on and off, but they've been doing it. Like, the latest episode came out around a week before I took these notes, with the first episode being a behind-the-scenes little moment of their Singapore jacket shoot. Following the release of I Am and La Ta Ta, Gidle was just widely considered monster rookies, in the way that groups like ITZY and IVE have been considered monster rookies. Like, they were the top-tier girl group at the time, at least one of them. And I have genuinely seen people consider the debut of Gidle the birth of the 4th generation of K-pop, which is not a feat you can give the majority of groups, like ushering in a brand new full-blown generation of K-pop. Jumping ahead to August, Soyeon would take part in the single Wow Thing for SM Station, which was a collaboration between her and Seulgi from Red Velvet, Shinbi from Yoja Chingu, and Chungha from IOI, which I don't really care to discuss this song, like I have nothing to say about it, but I will mention I am shocked this song didn't do better. If you look at this lineup and you look at how well each of these artists were doing at the time of its release, I don't know what went wrong. The devil had something to do with this song's level of floppage. Anyway, Cube would swiftly announce a comeback for Gidle themselves with the release of their first digital single, Han, which came out on August 14th, and if you ask me, is to this day one of the best songs Gidle has ever put out. Since there's no album sales to discuss as a digital single, we're going to jump straight into the song, and Han was another hit. It peaked at number 8 on the Gaon charts, giving Gidle their first top 10 single, and went on to get the group an additional 3 music show wins. As for the song itself, it is a masterpiece. I won't deny it is a lot more generic girl group soundy than La Ta Ta was, at least for 2018, but it still does sound like a I-DLE song. I-DLE is, if you ask me, one of those groups that have a very unique sound, or at least they did for a while, that was so uniquely them, but wasn't so unique that it was annoying. Like, it wasn't so unique that you could tell it was a I-DLE song in a bad way. It was that perfect level of recognizable that the minute you heard it, you knew it was I-DLE. I-DLE themselves didn't do a ton following promotions for Han. However, as previously mentioned, Soyeon and Miyeon would join the allegedly K-pop group, but really League of Legends group KDA to release their debut single, Pop Stars. Now, I'm not really going to talk about this song because I have nothing to say and I don't really like it, but I will say it did do quite well, going on to be certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, which made it the first K-pop song to do so technically. However, I do not consider this a K-pop song, so do with that information what you wish. Closing out 2018, I-DLE would essentially sweep the Rookie Awards. They won more or less everywhere, with the really only big exception being at the Mamas, because of course the Mamas gave it to IZ*ONE. However, that is all I have for 2018, so with that, it is retrospective time. Hello friends, and welcome to the Retrospective Corner. Before anyone says it, yes, I know this isn't my actual Retrospective Corner. The problem is it's getting hot out, and I brought out my air conditioner because it's currently 75 degrees outside. And my air conditioner kind of blocks the way from where I usually film to the retrospective corner where that chair is. Like, it's just a lot of work to move the air conditioner and the table and everything. So we're filming in, I guess, the intermission corner. It's the shelf corner. This is the shiny shelf. But, like, this is where we're filming. Anyway, for those who are new here, I like to end all these videos, whenever I do them, I like to end every year with a little retrospective just to look back on the year, really just give you the highlights, the most important stuff, the stuff I want you to remember. So, 2018, I-DLE, absolutely thriving, to the extent that I would believe you if you told me I-DLE had won Best Female Group at, say, the Mamas, or the Melon Music Awards. Like, I-DLE, I wouldn't have been overly jarred if they'd won a major female group award, and they really were on the trajectory to rival groups like Twice and Blackpink. They put out 2 singles, both of which did phenomenally well. They really were on the trajectory to be, the following year or two, one of the biggest girl groups. Unfortunately, things would change in 2019, so let's go deal with that now. Into 2019 we go, and 2019 would start off with the release of I-DLE's first post-debut reality show, To Neverland, which aired from mid-January to mid-February and saw the group bopping around San Francisco and was 100% entirely to build up hype for their upcoming comeback. Speaking of their comeback, following the end of the show, I-DLE would release their second mini-album, I Made, along with its title track, Señorita, on February 26th. Now, this comeback was a bit of a mixed bag, to say the least. Starting with the album once again, I Made would peak higher. It did. It peaked at number 2 on the album charts. However, its sales were nearly identical to I Am, both sitting at a little over 50,000 copies sold. The song, on the other hand, it was flop behavior, frankly. It peaked at number 19 on the charts, making it the lowest peaking I-DLE single at the time, and only charted for around 2 months, substantially less than either of the prior 2 I-DLE singles, and it only got 1 music show win. On top of that, the music video for Señorita also saw a decline in success. While Han and La Ta Ta both easily cleared 100 million views, the current view count for Señorita is at under 70 million, less than half of what Han currently has. As for the song itself, it's complicated. My feelings are very complicated. On the one hand, I enjoy the song. On the other hand, I recognize it's not good. Like, it has this Latin pop vibe that can definitely work, and here it does work, but it simultaneously doesn't work, and I can't explain why. All you need to know is that I have a complicated relationship with this song. Moving on. Next, we have some Yuchi solo promotions. First, in May, she joined the variety show The Gashinas, and then in June it was announced she'd be taking part in the latest arc of Law of the Jungle, which would air the following July. Also in June, I-DLE would release their second digital single, Uh-Oh, which came out on June 26th, and is, to this day, the least successful full-fledged I-DLE release. The song is, to this day, their lowest peaking single, peaking at number 31, and barely charted for more than 2 months, as well as also only getting 1 music show in. The song is honestly also just mid. Like, it is not their worst title as of today, at least if you ask me. But at the time, it definitely was, and the fact that it was a digital single only made it worse, because there were no B-sides to try and lift it up. Like, a flop title with some slay B-sides can still be a moment. Unfortunately, this was just a flop title. Then in July, I-DLE made their official Japanese debut with the release of their Japanese debut album, La Ta Ta, which came out on July 31st and contained primarily just Japanese versions of their Korean releases. In promotion for the album, I-DLE would host a showcase with 1,500 people attending. However, 15,000 people applied, meaning that in spite of their somewhat floppish charting behavior in Korea, they were still just all around very popular. I-DLE would follow up promotions for their Japanese album by appearing on the Mnet show Queendom alongside various artists like Mamamoo and Oh My Girl, and I've talked about Kingdom and the effect that it had on the group's popularity if they went on the show. Queendom was essentially the same thing. So I-DLE, who had been suffering in terms of popularity, like I-DLE had been honestly flopping in 2019, they saw a huge boost in popularity, nearly getting them back to their 2018 levels. All of this would culminate in the release of the Queendom finale song I-DLE put out, which was Lion, which is the most successful song I-DLE had put out in over a year. The song wasn't a massive peak success. It peaked at number 19 on the charts, which isn't the most impressive. However, it was a much longer charter than prior I-DLE releases. It spent around 4 months charting on the Gaon charts, making it the group's longest charting release since Han. It also doesn't hurt that the song just slays. It is also a return to a more classic I-DLE sound, which the general public loved in 2018, as did I, so I'm not going to complain about it. I-DLE didn't really do anything of note following the release of Lion for the rest of 2019, so we're going to move on to our retrospective. Okay, 2019. It was a bit of a mess. They were a bit floppish for the first, I'd say, 2/3 of the year. Like, they've had 2 comebacks, neither one of which came even close to rivaling the success of their lesser 2018 release. However, then they went on Queendom and put out Lion, which was their most successful song in over a year and was a hit for the group. As in terms of their evolution, though, 2019 definitely saw a big musical shift. Both of their 2018 singles were essentially viewed as modern-day 21-esque types of vibes. That could not be said for their 2019 releases, neither one. They both saw very different, unique styles, neither one of which seemed to resonate very well with the general public. In short, 2019 was a mess, but they did end the year better off than they started it. They were more popular at the end of 2019 than they were at the beginning, so at least there's that. However, before we actually continue, it is time for the time-honored tradition of ranking AO3 pairings, so let's go do that for our very first intermission. Well, hello there, friends, and welcome to the classic intermission in these videos. Now, for those who are new here, Quinton reviews. Slay King he is. He has these really long videos. I personally really recommend the Victorious ones, but they're all good if you want to watch them. He has these intermissions in them. I'm going to link his channel down below just because credit where credit is due. But basically, I was watching one of his really long videos when I took the notes for the first really long history of, so it's now become a trend. But basically what we do in this one, this is the one classic intermission I have in all of them. I went on AO3. I took, in this case, the top 5 pairings. We're going to run through them, and I'm going to unilaterally decide whether or not they have rights. However, this intermission is actually slightly different because, if you remember, I have stated for a fact that I have never read I-DLE fic. I did not read a bunch of I-DLE fic for this video. That was not going to happen. So instead, I went to my second favorite lesbian ever, the bestie, and I asked her for her opinions, and she was graciously willing to provide them with the caveat that I explicitly mentioned that all of her lore is 2 years old. The short version of what I just said is that these opinions are all the besties, but most importantly, I want to make it clear these are opinions. You may not come for the bestie, only I am allowed to do that, and her other bestie. No one else may drag the bestie. You can totally disagree, but if you are rude to her, I will enter final boss form, fling you down stone steps, come for your firstborn child, and haunt your descendants like a plague. Alrighty, now that that's out of the way, we can get started, and first pairing is Yuchi and Minnie, which, according to the bestie, they are besties, and therefore does have rights to her, and as someone who loves a good friends to lovers trope, I too shall consider it having rights. We have reached one of the 2 I-DLE love triangle pairings that is a part of this intermission, which is Mion and Shuhua. Now, Given the relevance of the I-DLE love triangle to the I-DLE lore, this pairing does automatically have rights. However, it does not have as many rights as the later pairing, which we will get to. Number 3 is Mion and Minnie, and when I texted the bestie about this, she responded verbatim, I don't care about these two, so I have no idea, ... no rights. So there you go, no rights. On to the penultimate pairing, which is Soyeon and Yuchi, and according to the bestie, these two are actually really, really close, and once again, love a good friends to lovers, so I'm giving it rights. I am also once again contractually obligated to quote the bestie. This time it's a contract I made with myself, because when I asked her about this pairing, she said verbatim, I think Soyeon should just date Yuchi instead of the cursed men she writes songs about. Iconic behavior. On to the number 1 and most popular pairing on AO3 for I-DLE as of the time that I took these notes, Soojin and Shuhwa. Now, this is the other pairing relevant to the love triangle, and once again, just given the relevance the love triangle has to the I-DLE lore, to the I-DLE cinematic universe, this pairing does automatically have rights, and the bestie also stated that she is convinced that Shuhwa was in love with Soojin, which just, I'm sure that has come with some great fic. Unfortunately, I've never bothered to read any of it, but the point is it can have rights. Anyway, this has been fun. I hope you liked it. I know it's been different just because, like, I normally have a lot stronger opinions because I have my own shipping dynamics in groups. I-DLE is an exception, as is every other girl group, but who knows what I'm gonna do next. The point is this has been fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. We have entered a new decade, and I-DLE started off 2020 by announcing their very first world tour, which notably was supposed to come here, and I was supposed to see them, until COVID happened and the entire tour got canceled because COVID happened. However, the canceling of their tour didn't actually slow anything down for I-DLE, and they would swiftly return with their third mini-album, I Trust, and its title track, Oh My God, which both came out on April 6th. This comeback was wildly successful, starting with I Trust, sitting right here. This album broke 100,000 copies with just the pre-orders, meaning without even being released, it had doubled I-DLE's total album sale. It also went on to get the group their first ever #1 album, debuting at #1 and beating out TVXQ member Changmin's solo debut, and going on to sell around 150,000 total copies. As for the title track, Oh My God, in terms of just the charts, it was a moderate hit. It peaked at number 15, charted for around 2.5 months, and did become the most awarded song by I-DLE on music shows, picking up a grand total of 4 wins. The music video, on the other hand, was just a massive success. As of the time that I took these notes, Oh My God had the second most views for any I-DLE music video, sitting at just under 200 million views, and at the time of its release, it was the most viewed I-DLE music video. Musically, Oh My God, absolute slay behavior. It's dark, it's creepy, it's sexy, it's just all around iconic, and the English version, deeply lesbian vibes. I-DLE would have a pretty busy summer in 2020 as well, which they kicked off by taking part in K-Contact, which was the online version of K-Con, since K-Con itself couldn't happen. Following K-Contact, on July 5th, I-DLE would host their own online concert entitled Island Who Am I, where, among other songs, they would perform their then upcoming digital single I'm the Trend, which they put out on July 7th. This song was not a full-fledged comeback. It was a gift to the fans, and also didn't make a ton of noise and didn't have that much of an impact, so I'm not really going to talk about it. I-DLE would actually return, however, the following month when they released their first single album, Dum Dee Dum Dee, with its lead single of the same name, which came out on August 3rd and was a surprisingly big hit. Starting with the song this time, Dum Dee Dum Dee peaked at number 8 on the charts, making it the second top 10 hit by I-DLE, and tying Han for their highest peaking song, as well as picking up a total of 6 music show wins, meaning at the time of its release, it was the most awarded I-DLE song on music shows. On top of that, it charted for around 5 months, making it the longest charting song since La Ta Ta and their second longest charting song overall at the time of its release. As for the song itself, I know some people, notably the bestie, hated this song. I actually really liked it. I thought it was fun, bright, poppy, just slapped all around. Now for the album, it also did quite well. It peaked at number 2 on the charts and sold around 120,000 copies. Not too shabby for a single album from a girl group in 2020. Also, I don't know if this is true, but while I was taking notes for this video, I came across something that said at the time of its release, Dum Dee Dum Dee was the second highest selling single album by a girl group of all time, at least like in K-pop. Now, I only found literally one place that said this, but also, I'd believe it, because the only album I can think of that was by a girl group and was a single album and was released before this with more than 120,000 copies sold, was How You Like That by Blackpink. So I'm not going to definitively say this is true, but like, I believe it. Moving on, after promotions for Dum Dee Dum Dee, I-DLE would release their second Japanese album entitled Oh My God, and shockingly contained a Japanese version of Oh My God. I know, it's shocking. Anyway, the album would come out on August 26th and once again was primarily made up of Japanese versions of Korean releases. The album was also a bit floppish, if I'm being honest. It only sold around 4,000 copies and didn't seem to make all that much of an impact. Closing out the summer, we have another KDA release, as Soyeon and Miyeon would rejoin the other members of KDA to release the digital single The Baddest, which definitely happened. Jumping ahead to another KDA release when they would release their first and to date only album entitled All Out with its lead single More, which came out on November 6th. And if the presence of KDA in this group has been bothering you, I get it, it's bothering me too. Thankfully, we're now done with them. Closing out the year, I-DLE would host an online fan meeting and just do their standard year-end promotions. So with that, it's time for the retrospective. Alrighty, so in spite of having to cancel their tour at the start of the year, 2020 was still a great year for I-DLE. They put out 2 releases that both did amazingly well, and each in turn set a record for their most awarded song on music shows. On top of that, both of the albums they put out this year became their 2 highest selling albums. They were just all around thriving. I would also say, just in terms of like general public reception, 2020 was a sort of return to the 2018 levels of attention I-DLE was getting. They were obviously still relatively popular in 2019, however, they were everywhere in 2018, essentially nowhere for much of 2019, and then everyone was talking about I-DLE again in 2020, and I for one was very much here for it. I-DLE would kick off 2021 with the release of their 4th mini-album, I Burn, sitting right here. It is also, by the way, the last I-DLE album I have a copy of, like, in my album collection, so I hope you're ready for coffee cup content. Anyway, the album would come out on January 11th and was led by the single Hwa, both of which did insanely well, at least for the first few months, and I want you to keep that time frame in mind. Starting with the album, I Burn swiftly set a new record for sales for I-DLE. It sold over 200,000 copies, as well as peaking at number 3 on the album charts. Now for Miss Hwa. Upon the time of its release, it was a huge success, debuting at number 4 on the Gaon charts, making it the first top 5 single by I-DLE. It was also a massive success on music shows, becoming the most awarded song by the group at the time, as well as their first to clear 10 wins, and got them their first Triple Crown, which they won on M Countdown. Musically though, this song is really just Han 2.0, and while I'm not mad, like if it comes on I will listen to it because I like Han, but like I don't really seek it out, because if I want to listen to Han, I'm just gonna go listen to Han. Just following I Burn's release, we would get our acting debut from Miyeon as she appeared in the drama Replay the Moment. Now, I do not watch K-dramas, so I do not know what happened in this, or how relevant Miyeon is to the plot. The only thing I can tell you is that she is in it. Moving into February, I have dubbed February of 2021 the month of Miyeon, because she was the only one doing anything worth mentioning. First, she started hosting a radio show for Naver Now, which was originally meant to only have 3 episodes, however it was so popular they actually extended it. After that, she became the first female MC of M Countdown in nearly a year, starting on February 18th, and is still hosting it to this day. Now, you remember how I explicitly have been saying how Hwa did well at the time of its release and for the first few months? Well, that's because around 2 months after it came out, Soojin would be caught up in a bullying scandal along with a bunch of other idols. It was that huge thing that happened in around early 2021, and just the K-pop community was in shambles at the time. Soojin, to say the least, did not handle this allegation the best, nor did Cube as a company. Now, she was immediately put on hiatus, I will give her that. However, she did not leave until August. Like, she was technically speaking in I-DLE until August of 2021. If I had to take a wild guess, I was assuming they were planning on doing a Hyunjin moment where they would just kind of slip her back into the group once everything had died down. Unfortunately, it didn't. So all you need to really know is that starting in March, I-DLE is a 5-member group. Also, as always when I do these videos, I don't talk about the former members and what they're up to, so I hope Soojin's thriving. She will not be mentioned in this video from this point forward. I will simply say, she to this day claims she didn't do anything wrong. I frankly don't care. I am going to talk about the more long-term repercussions of this scandal in my retrospective for 2021, but in terms of the short term, Hua started plummeting on the charts. The week of February 27th, which was the last full charting week before the news of the scandal broke, Hua was sitting at number 30. 4 weeks later, at the end of March, it was sitting at number 100, so to say that it dropped would be an understatement. I-DLE would essentially go AWOL following this scandal. The only thing they did for the next couple months was release a Universe single that absolutely flopped. It didn't even break into the top 100 of the Gaon charts, and for the comeback, it was specifically noted that Soojin's lines had been re-recorded, so if I had to take a wild guess, I assume they had already recorded, well, they obviously already recorded the song, but I assume they had some form of contractual obligation that required them to put it out at the end of April. Do I know this for a fact? No, I do not. This is simply my guess. None of that matters. None of that matters. Everyone shut up. It's time for Yuchi's solo debut, and spoiler alerts for when I talk about my thoughts on this album, but this solo debut slayed. The album, released on May 13th, was entitled A Page and was a digital single album. Now, as a digital single album, I have no album sales to discuss, and additionally, society is morally corrupt and stupid and wrong and did these songs dirty. Personally, I prefer Bonnie and Clyde, and I'm not gonna really dive into my thoughts on this in case I ever choose to review her solo album, but it is pop perfection. I love it with all my heart and soul, and if you are one of the many fools who slept on this song, I would highly recommend you leave this video immediately and go listen to it. Into June we go, when Minnie would become the latest I-DLE member to make her acting debut, appearing in the Netflix show So Not Worth It. I didn't watch it, I don't know what happens, I don't know how relevant Minnie's character is, but once again, I can tell you that she is there. Moving on, following the release of A Page, we would actually get our first physical I-DLE solo album when Soyeon put out Windy on July 5th. Now, fun fact for me at least, this album's release date, July 5th, made it one of the first albums I ever reviewed on this channel, because I started my channel on July 3rd. Ignoring my narcissism, this album, bit floppish. It sold around 40,000 copies, and the title track, Beam Beam, failed to break into the top 100 of the Gaon charts. The only place Beam Beam really did shine was music shows. It did pick up 2 wins, but as a whole, definitely not the expected levels of success for an album by someone like Soyeon. After that, though, I-DLE didn't really do anything worth noting. So I guess we're heading back to the retrospective corner. Okay, 2021, not the best year for I-DLE. They did start off strong, I will give them that. They were on the trajectory to put out their biggest hit to date. And then Soojin happened. It's all Soojin's fault. Hwa was on track to become the most successful song I-DLE had ever put out. It was their most awarded song on music shows. It was their highest peaking song. It could have charted for months on end. And then Soojin happened, and it just disappeared off the charts, and no one was talking about I-DLE again. Additionally, in the aftermath of this scandal, I-DLE's reception took a massive hit. Both of the solo albums they put out following the Soojin scandal were absolute flops. Neither one did well, especially Soyeon's was surprisingly floppish. On top of that, just in general, no one was talking about I-DLE, and I think this is important to remember because obviously I live in the modern day of 2023. I can tell you what happens in the future. I know this isn't the end for I-DLE, but a lot of people really thought it was, myself included, and I know I've seen a lot of people after 2022 or during 2022 being like, it's so funny that everyone thought I-DLE was over and they would never have a hit again and all of these things, but it wasn't a leap to make that assumption. It really felt like I-DLE was over. Aside from their first performance as a 5-member group, I-DLE actually didn't do much for the start of 2022, so we're gonna jump ahead to their next comeback. Cool, so on March 14th, I-DLE released their first full album, I Never Die, and its lead single, Tomboy, and to call this comeback anything less than a massive success would be a bold-faced lie. Starting with the album, I Never Die set a record for I-DLE at the time for being their highest-selling album with 275,000 copies sold and getting them their first platinum certification. However, literally all of that pales in comparison to the title track Tomboy. Tomboy is, at least if you ask me, as of this point, the most successful thing I-DLE has ever put out by a wide margin. Tomboy, upon its release, topped essentially every chart there is to top. It spent 2 weeks at number 1 on the Gaon charts and 3 weeks at number 1 on the Mountain charts, notably getting that 3rd week at number 1 a full 3 months after its release. It also spent months on end in the top 10, in case you couldn't figure out from getting its 3rd week at number 1 3 months after its release. It spent forever in the top 10 and closed out the year as the second most successful song, just behind Love Dive, and for a brief stint of time was the most successful song of all of 2022. In addition to the main title, the B-side My Bag would also honestly go on to be a bit of a hit in and of itself, spending 8 or so months on the charts, and is, as of me currently filming this and taking these notes, the second longest charting song by GIDLE. As for the music video, it is an equally massive success. It is the most viewed GIDLE music video to this day, has around 200 and something million views, and over 3 million likes. Now, while the general public might have loved Tomboy, I did not. I don't like this song. I hate this song. First of all, the beep drives me nuts. I do prefer when they say they're fucking Tomboy, but like, I still don't like it. Also, for what it's worth, this sounds like nothing GIDLE had put out beforehand, and while that's not necessarily a deal breaker, like Señorita is a very unique sounding GIDLE song, I still really like it. This one, on the other hand, let's just say it's not for me. Following promotions for Tomboy, we would get another GIDLE solo release, this time Mion putting out her debut mini-album, My, on April 27th. Now, due to the levels of success GIDLE as a group was seeing at this time, My did quite well, at least in terms of the album itself. It peaked at number 4 on the charts and sold over 100,000 copies. The title track Drive, on the other hand, did not do quite as well. It failed to break into the top 100 of the Gaon charts and only got Mion a single win, which she got on the show. The song, however, is honestly a bop. Like, maybe it's just a me thing. I think it's giving early Taeyeon vibes, like, to the extent that if you told me this was originally meant to be released on, like, My Voice or something, I would fully believe you, and personally, I really like the song. The following month, GIDLE would announce once again their first world tour, this time entitled Just Me Idol, and was originally meant to start with 2 shows in Seoul that June. However, tickets for this concert were in such high demand, Hume ended up adding a 3rd date, which subsequently sold out in around 3 minutes. Following the Seoul show, GIDLE did stints in the US, Latin America, Asia. They were essentially on tour from July through mid-September, finally closing out the tour with a show in Singapore that October. Also, on this tour they did actually come here, however. I am a decrepit old hag, and for some reason they went from a seated venue that had a capacity of around 2,000 to a GA venue that had a capacity at like 1,600. So I didn't go, because I don't do GA concerts. Like, I'm old. I will not be capable of standing that long. I will die. I don't do GA. Like, I'm sorry. I might be able to convince the bestie to go to a GA concert if it's a group we really like. If I'm like, we're not going to be in the front, but we can vibe in the back and just, like, get there when it starts-ish and just, like, not bother waiting in line. But, like, if you expect me to wait in line, and especially for someone like GIDLE, you're on drugs. As previously mentioned, GIDLE would spend the next several months on tour, so we're going to jump ahead to October when they released their 5th mini-album, I Love, and its title track Nude, but like with an X instead of a U. You know how to spell nude. I'm assuming if you watch this video, you know what nude is, and you already know how to spell it. Anyway, these came out on October 17th and was just wildly successful once again. Starting with the song this time, Nude would debut at number 1 on the weekly Melon charts, making it the first number 1 debut by an idol girl group since the release of a Yes or Yes by Twice a full 4 years earlier. It would also go on to spend 3 weeks at number 1, and as of right now, like this very week, a full 6 months after its release, it is still sitting in the top 40, so while a strong charter without a doubt, it's no Tomboy though. The song also did phenomenally well on music shows. It is currently the most awarded GIDLE song on music shows with a grand total of 11 wins, and also got them their first ever Triple Crown on a Music Core. The music video was also massively successful. Within just a week of its release, it had already broken 100 million views, currently sitting at around 195 as of the time I took these notes, with over 3 million likes. It also had this whole Marilyn Monroe theme going. Like, it was honestly a moment of a music video. Unfortunately, I kind of hate this song too. It's better than Tomboy, I'll give it that, but I still really don't enjoy her a lot. Meanwhile, this album was an absolute moment and shattered GIDLE's personal record for album sales. For context, okay? The highest selling GIDLE album before I Love had 275,000 copies. It was I Never Die. Within the first week of its release, I Love sold 600,000 copies, with its current sales at around 850,000. It also debuted at #1 on the album charts, giving GIDLE their second #1 album. Aside from a VR concert though, GIDLE didn't really do anything for the rest of 2022, so we're gonna move into our final retrospective. Alrighty, it's time for our last retrospective, and 2022 I feel like is where GIDLE was always destined to be. Like, they were always destined to reach the heights they reached this year, albeit they reached it a little bit later than I thought they were going to, at least in my time as a GIDLE stan. Like, I would have expected them to reach these heights a little earlier, but they did still reach them, and 2022 was a god-tier year for GIDLE. In just this year alone, they sold over 1 million albums, they got over 20 music show wins, and they picked up 2 #1 songs, a total of 6 weeks atop the Melon charts, and both of these singles were massive hits. I have nothing to say beyond that though, so we're gonna jump straight into 2023. So, welcome to 2023, the current year as of me filming this, where our first thing is actually going to be in March. On March 9th, Minnie would release Expectations, which was a collaboration with British singer Anne-Marie, who, if you ask me, peaked with her debut album. This video is not about her though, so as for GIDLE, Expectations did decently well. It did do the best charting of any GIDLE solo release, like, it's actually on the Melon charts right now, but it was no phenomenon either, like, it's kind of just there. However, I have actually nothing else to talk about in terms of history, so we're gonna look to the future, where GIDLE is currently scheduled to release their 6th mini album entitled I Feel, which is scheduled to come out on May 15th, and while obviously I am not a prophet, I cannot actually tell you how it's going to do. I have a strong assumption it's going to do decently well. On top of that, they've announced they're going on a world tour this coming summer, however they're not coming here, so I don't really care. And with that I can say, this has been the history of GIDLE. However, we're not done yet. We're not doing a retrospective because literally nothing has happened in 2023 so far, but we are going to do one more intermission, so let's go do that now. Well, hello there. So, hear me out. For our second and final intermission in this video, I'm reusing one, I'm sorry. I've been coming up with new intermission ideas other than the AO3 one for all of these videos, and I'm tired. So we're reusing one for my History of Icon video. Basically, we're gonna rate every single GIDLE music video, and as always when I do this, we're going to use the star system. The star system, which include halves and is based on 2 factors, just like with the History of Icon intermission. 1, how much do I like the song? Because if I hate the song, obviously I'm not going to like the music video as much. Number 2 is just the overall aesthetics, does it fit the vibe, do I like the way it works, that type of thing. But first, just a casual reminder that these are just opinions, and you can literally disagree with all of them. Also, we're only doing like the main music videos, because GIDLE does actually have a bunch of other videos and like music videos that theoretically could go here. We're not doing that. We're doing like the main titles and nothing else. Alrighty, starting us off, we have the icon of the debut, Miss La Ta Ta, and I'm giving her 5 stars. Like, I would be hard-pressed to come up with a more culturally significant debut from a girl group since GIDLE. Like, yes, I understand, it was not the most successful, like, Attention, 11, that's just in the past year. But, like, in terms of the cultural impact, I don't think you could find one more important than La Ta Ta, at least going back like 5 years, because like, the song is iconic just for starters, but also the music video is so easily recognizable that I could probably play a 3-second clip and you'd immediately know it was La Ta Ta, which in and of itself is what earns it 5 stars, but also like, it's a power move. Next, Han, which gets 4.5 stars. Now, musically, absolutely slay behavior. I love Han as a song, we've established this, but the music video just doesn't do as much as La Ta Ta for me. However, it still fucks hard, so it can have 4.5 stars. On to the first song that I have a complicated relationship with, which is Señorita, and I'm giving her music video 3.5 stars because, confession time, I don't like this music video. The aesthetics of it really just aren't for me. I really don't like them. The only real saving grace in the score is the song itself, because I do enjoy Señorita as a song, but yeah, 3.5 stars. On to the comeback that I constantly forget happened, which is Uh-Oh. Now, this music video is gonna get 1 star because this entire experience felt like a fever dream. Like, I was actively watching the Uh-Oh music video and listening to Uh-Oh, and I remembered nothing about it. Like, I was in the middle of experiencing the song and I forgot it existed, which is never ideal. Plus, the only thing that keeps this from being just no stars, essentially, is the fact that it's not the worst GIDLE title, but it's still not great, and it still only gets 1 star. Okay, I know I said I'm only doing, like, the main titles, but I'm making an exception, because next up we have Lion, and I'm giving Lion 5 stars, because this music video is serving bad bitch queen realness, and I love it so much. Plus, the song also slays, so it's really just all around a 5-star experience. Back to the actual main comebacks. Next we have Oh My God, and I'm gonna give the Oh My God music video 4 stars because while song-wise it's absolutely a 5-star, the aesthetics have never really been for me. There's various parts that I do enjoy, obviously, but like, it feels like they tried a lot of things and missed in a lot of ways, which is never great. So yeah, 4 stars. On to another song I have a complicated relationship with, Miss Dum Dee Dum Dee, and I'm gonna give her 2.5 stars. Now, visually, this music video is a mess. It's just a hot, burning mess because there's a lot of the aesthetics that I don't like. I also hate the opening. I can fuck with a good opening, don't get me wrong. This one's just too long. It's a full 90 seconds before we get to the song. For context, Dum Dee Dum Dee as a song isn't even 4 minutes, which means of the like 5-ish minute music video, a full third of it is made up of the opening without the song. I don't like that. I hate that. It's just, I have a lot of feelings. 2.5 stars, we're moving on. Next up is Hua, and I'm gonna give Hua 4 stars. Now, this score, the visuals, I'm really into it. I've always liked the visuals for this music video. There's certain hairstyles that I don't like. I think you can figure out who. But for the most part, the aesthetics of this music video have always been great. And while I stand by the song is just Han 2.0, I like Han, so I like this song. On to the first Sujinless music video, which is of course Tomboy, and Tomboy is going to get 0.5 star from me. I hate this song. I fucking hate this song so much. Society decided this was a good song, and me and Society need to have a long chat about their opinions, because they're not the time, not the place. Just know I hate this song, and I hate this music video. The only thing keeping it from no stars is the fact that Yuji looks really, really good, and also that hook scene is iconic. Like, I hate it. It makes me want to commit violence, but it is iconic, so I can't give it no stars. Now, for what is of me filming this, is the most recent I-DLE music video, Nude. I'm giving Nude 3.5 stars, entirely because of the visuals. Now, musically, the song is 0.5 star on its best day, maybe 1 star. Maybe 1 star on, like, its best day. However, conceptually, this is a moment. I'm sorry, whoever thought of doing a Marilyn Monroe-themed music video for Nude, I want them to have a promotion, I want them to have a raise, I want them to have accolades to their name, because it's iconic. Like, I'm sorry, this is visually one of the best music videos I've ever seen. I just wish it was for a better song. Anyway, that's all we got for this intermission. I hope you had fun, I hope you enjoyed it, but I'm also not sorry if I offended you because my opinions are correct. Anyway, yeah, that's all I have for you today. I hope you like this video. I know it's been like a little different just because I-DLE is a group that I have a very different relationship with than I have with any of the other groups I've done this for. So, like, I know we've been light on the intermissions and a bit lighter on the props than in my last couple of videos, but I do hope you liked it. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe, or don't. I'll be okay either way. You can also follow me on Twitter if you want to hear more from me at @s_reviews. I will link that in the description along with every other history of that I've done, as well as all my I-DLE album reviews, so you can check all that out if you so choose. You can also comment whatever you want. You can comment literally anything. Like, comment your thoughts on every I-DLE release. Comment everything I forgot. Comment whatever you want. But other than that, thank you again for watching, and yeah, bye!